Connect to the world with special Turkish Airlines fares. Book your flight before November 30th and take advantage of great deals. Fly to the most exciting destinations with the award-winning airline that flies to more countries than any other. Terms and conditions apply. For more details, visit TurkishAirlines.com. Turkish Airlines, widen your world.
Ampire. Hey babies, the 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 babies. Hi everyone, hi everyone, hi everyone, hi everyone. Happy Friday. Happy Thanksgiving. I hope everybody had an awesome holiday. Enjoyed the football yesterday. Getting set for what will hopefully be the end of a 3-game losing streak this weekend. Commanders and Titans. So let's start there today. I have my weekly Friday visit with the one and only John Keim of ESPN, the John Keim Report. And we were talking about the disappointment of Dallas, what to do about Terry McLaurin and the offense, and a lot more as they get set for the Titans this weekend. All right, time for our weekly visit with John Keim of ESPN, the John Keim Report. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, Bram.
They're on a 3-game losing streak. I kind of didn't see it coming, to be honest with you. I'm not surprised about Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, just the way things set up. But the Dallas one is the first one under the new era where it's a surprising loss.
I agree, because, going into that, you thought it was the get healthy game, right? Like, Dallas is banged up. They're playing Cooper Rush, who has beaten this team before, but a worse version of this team. And, right, like, Pittsburgh, they were right there. Philly, a short week, physical, blah, blah. You had 10 days for this one. You were in a much better spot. You're playing at home. They laid a massive egg. And I was very surprised by that.
I mean, honestly, I know the last 5 minutes were insane, but this game was lost in the first half.
I think in the first quarter and early in the second, they had 3 times great field position, got 3 points out of it. And I thought like that drive where they got, I think it was after a fumble at the Dallas 47, 3 and out. Then that had followed a drive where they stalled. I think they had good field position, stall, kick a field goal. And then they have another one after that where they have the 4th and 2. They had great field position to start. 4th and 2, they go for the field goal instead of going for it, and they miss the field goal. So 3 incredible field position, 3 points. To me, that's where they're still in the game. They lost it in the first half.
They blocked a field goal. Dallas missed the field goal. They blocked a punt. They got a fumble. They have 3 points. They have no one to blame but themselves.
Correct, and that's I think what surprised me is how much they squandered, because I think Dallas's defense had not been playing well, and Washington's offense has been a little bit off for a few reasons, and they missed a couple plays that they had been hitting earlier in the year on some of those possessions. And I also thought, Bram, like that 4th and 2 after the field goal, I personally would have gone for it instead of kicking the 51-yarder.
That was a 51-yard field goal. It was not a short field goal.
With a guy who's coming back off an injury, et cetera, missed a couple weeks. I would have tried to get something going. Now, the flip side is maybe you want to prevent Dallas from being in a good spot, but it's not a gimme. So I just think that when you have that, you've got to take advantage of it, and they did not. And you're right, like so much worked for them and then when Dallas tied it up going into halftime on that last drive, which was another bad series by the defense, that was like it just changed. And so, they really, really squandered that one. They absolutely lost that in the first half.
I'm not going to let the defense off the hook. I'll get to it, but I want to start with what is the obvious narrative of the week, which is the offense is not performing to the degree that it was earlier in this season. Now, I want to start this conversation with, at the beginning part of the season, they were executing at a level that was historic. We laughed about it, that the quarterback was posting numbers no rookie quarterback had ever posted. They had more scoring drives than incompletions over like a 2 to 3 week period. They had 1 punt over a 2-week period. We were reading crazy stats from not since World War II and not since 76. There was no chance on earth that was going to continue for a full season. So I heard Fred Smoot put it this way. He goes, we got greedy. And I thought that was an interesting way of putting it. But the drop-off is obvious. So to what do you attribute them forget executing the way they were week 3, 4, 5, which was absurd. Why isn't it even maybe ticking closer to that as opposed to where it is right now?
So I think you have to look at a couple of things. One, I start with the run game. The run game has been highly inefficient the last 3 weeks in particular. Now, again, you go back to, okay, Pittsburgh and Philly defend the run well. Dallas does not. They couldn't really run the ball against them. Now, Jaden Daniels did, but the running backs aren't getting anything. Some of that is Brian Robinson being banged up, the offensive line being banged up. And I also think, Bram, the more teams see you, the more things are exposed. And I think one thing this team lacks is a lot of playmakers on offense. And I think you really have legitimately two, the quarterback and then Terry McLaurin. So you can take those, if you're going to limit to other guys, like you're going to have to consistently drive on these long drives. That's really hard to sustain. And, there are a couple plays, there have been a couple throws that Jaden Daniels has made that, well, early in the year, he's dropping it in the bucket. And now maybe it's a yard or two off on a deep ball, for example, like the deep one to Terry the other day down the sidelines. Well, early in the year against Cleveland, against Cincinnati, you're completing some of those throws, and they're not always going to be complete. They're hard throws. They're low percentage throws. But we saw him doing that, so you almost expect it to happen every time, and it does not. And if you're 2 yards off, that's the difference between a 40-yard gain inside the 5 or a 3rd and 7. So, you know what I mean? So I think like some of that stuff is adding up, but I do think I go back to offensive line banged up, running game is not efficient, and I think things start there because they're not putting themselves in. I was watching the game again the other night, and I'm watching Dallas get like 4 yards here, 4 yards here. Now it's 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1. These guys are consistently feels like they're in 3rd and long.
That's the difference.
Right.
I talked about this earlier. When they were closer to a 50-50 run team, this is the profile of the team they put out there for the reasons you explained. By the end of the summer, it became clear they don't have a lot of playmakers. So where are they going to get explosive plays from? They kind of can't. They're going to have to scheme it out, and they're going to have to figure out how to do this. And when were running the ball as effectively as they were, and they were in these consistent 3rd and shorts, well, that quarterback is capable of getting 1 or 2 yards on any given play at any point in time and can extend drives, time of possessions in your favor, all of these things. When you're in these 3rd and 6s, 3rd and 7s, he kind of can't do that. And the other thing that's been clear is teams have decided pressure is the way they're going to go. Pittsburgh is bringing more blitzes than they would. The Giants did it. Philadelphia didn't. I'll get to them in a moment. Dallas did too. Dallas brought 5 or 6, I think 17 times.
Season high.
High.
That's the thing to me, Bram, is, and you pointed this out a couple weeks ago, but teams are doing it to a season high against them.
Yes,
and when you
it was beyond a trend to me. It was pretty obvious that this is the way it was going.
And there were teams that blitzed them early in the year, but they were hurting them too. So, but then you bring better defenses, Pittsburgh, for example. All right, again, I get it. But even there, they had multiple chances for big plays they just didn't hit on. And we're talking like open plays, not just like the one to McLaurin last week. Like, I kind of filed that under, hey, you took a shot and it didn't work. But the one a couple against Pittsburgh, like, you got to hit those. McCaffrey, Zacchaeus, and then Ertz with a drop. Like, there are multiple things like that. So it's a little bit different. But yes, I think part of what they're doing is they're keeping him in the pocket. They're not letting him get outside to extend plays, which could lead to. Here's the other.
They also know where he's going.
Right.
In this Dallas game, the thing that really stood out to me was they brought these pressures. They knew exactly where he was going to run to, and there were corners waiting for him when he got to the edge.
There were times like if you're in zone, you're playing that's your step. But there was one time where I wondered the same thing. Like they pushed him out to the right, but they had 4 receivers to the left. So he's running to the right, and you're pushing the ends are collapsing the tackles. That doesn't help. Now you got to run around. Now you got Micah Parsons chasing you. Now on some of these, if you get outside there, he's got yards. He's got big yards, but you don't have any options to throw to because the others they're all on their side. And are they pushing him that way on purpose? So I do think there's some of that, but they really have done a good job now. He ran the ball and designed runs very well against Dallas, and I think you can do some of that against Tennessee. But certainly against Dallas, I thought they could. But the scramble plays, the extending the plays hasn't happened. So going back to the 3rd down stuff, his 3rd down passing, like their 3rd and 7 or longer is not dramatically different than it was when they were doing well. It's just that they were more efficient passing the ball. His passing numbers on those downs have been dramatically worse. And for whatever reason, like in the run, but I do go back to that because you go back to like Cleveland, Arizona, Cleveland, maybe Cincinnati, Arizona, Cleveland, even Carolina, I think. They were running the ball 80% of the time on 1st down. they were highly effective with that.
Yes.
And they're just not at that level right now. It's really impacting everything.
The other thing, too, with the pressure schemes, and this is where the shift was, and I want to credit Dallas. I thought both sides of the ball, they had really good game plans, like really good, and they executed them very well. They knew they weren't going to be able to score a lot of points. I'll get to the Washington defense in a moment because, like Washington, they don't, with all these injuries, don't have a lot of playmakers out there. It was going to be hard for them to do it. But I thought they managed the game very well in general, outside of a couple of mistakes. But I want to stay on their defense for a moment. So Philadelphia was the one of this group that didn't pressure as much, but were winning with Jalen Carter over and over and over and over. So what I thought was very interesting with Dallas, and I really want to talk to coaches about it, they were able to generate a ton of free rushers off the edge. And then secondarily, their stunts were in the middle of the line and they were winning with them. So this isn't just about like trying to stop pressure. The middle of the line is losing 2 weeks in a row for different reasons, but they're losing for 2 weeks in a row.
And that's 1,000% right. And so what's happening, even against Philadelphia, so they're losing inside, the ends are being pinched. So like Pittsburgh did a good job pinching the tackles. So you didn't see a lot from T.J. Watt with, in terms of sacks and all that, but he was pinching the tackle. And when you start collapsing the pocket, now he's not nowhere to go. So if the tackles are getting moved, if the defensive tackles are moving you back, now you have a problem. And Philadelphia absolutely was doing that. In fact, there were only a couple of times where they felt like they didn't. And one time Jaden was able to step up and actually inside the red zone on one of their last drives, where he's able to create something on his own in the pocket because the tackles just were gassed by that point. But by and large, you're seeing the tackles get pinched, but the interior of the line getting moved back too much, which then prevents those escape routes for him a lot of times. So, yeah, I think that's been and I'll tell you what, like Tennessee's got a big fella inside too. Jason Simmons is really good.
Yes.
Like he can, and they'll run those stunts inside. They run the stunts with the linebackers coming off that. And the other thing that hurt with Dallas too, that Overshawn, that 13, is a really quick guy. And like they would get stuff with him and Micah, and then they were just really creative with their rushes. So I thought it was a good job. But yeah, you're right. Like if the ends are pinching, it's okay if you have somewhere to step up, and he really doesn't right now.
Okay, everybody wants to know why Terry McLaurin doesn't have a lot of catches. Let's put aside the miracle play at the end of the game, because up until that point, over a 2-week period, it's 3 catches for 25 yards, some absurdly low number for a number one receiver. And then, you watch Dallas, and similarly, they're missing targets, but they moved Lamb all over the place. He's run the ball 15 times. He's had the same amount of targets in the slot as he has on the outside, so they move him around. So everyone logically goes, why aren't you moving him around? Because they're not. So what do you say to that when it is a fair criticism? He's not getting the ball, and he's not being used in a mobile fashion very often in this offense.
So there are a couple of things. One, for most of the year, that's what they've done. And he was on a career year to that point, to just a couple games ago. So that's one. So, is it just a matter? Well, now, I think teams have known that, because it's funny because before a game, it may have been before the Bears game, where someone said to me, like, oh, McLaurin's lined up 90% of the time on the right. They're like, well, no, he's not. Well, because I'm like, I see him on the left all the time. Well, it's the defense's right? Yeah. So, but the point is, they knew it then, and he was still getting passes. So I think two things late, first of all, the Giants took him out too. Deontay Banks did a good job against them, but he had 2 catches for 2 touchdowns. And they won. They scored 27 points, taking a knee inside the 5 at the end. They were efficient. So it wasn't a big, but he didn't get anything there. That wasn't a big issue because they won and he scored twice. Against Philly, I felt like they were deliberate at taking him out of the game. The extra attention paid to him should have resulted in more for somebody else. And that was an issue. And I'm going game by game, and you can I can look at it and say, well, Philly did this. Dallas wasn't exactly taking him out. I felt like, again, the deep ball to him early in the game, they don't connect. There was another play, it looked like he's going to go to him, and the pressure got to Jaden Daniels. So, I don't think it was a matter of, he's on the left side, they just take him out. I think there was a couple missed opportunities there. Having said that, if you are now that static, this is one thing that people would tell me, you can start him on the right side, motion to the left, and get him in the same route. But start him in a different spot and get him over there a different way. You can still run the routes from over there if that's what you want, but start him in a different way. Line him up initially different, use some motion. But the other thing is, I talked to Terry about this for my podcast a couple weeks ago, and he was saying that he actually, because I asked him about that, and he's like, to him it wasn't as big a deal. that it was this much. Now, again, the motion stuff I do think happens. But he said that he runs a wider variety of routes in this offense, which somewhat lessens the need to move around as much. Like last year was 50-50 about. Well, he didn't have a good year. So, and there were a variety of reasons. But so I think that the solution to me is sometimes you're going to have to use them, line them up a little bit differently. If you want to get him on that left side, motion him there. Get some movement to his game. And I think that could help.
There's one other part of this that no one seems to want to acknowledge yet, and I'll say it. The quarterback's a rookie. Now, he continues to make very good decisions with the ball where he doesn't put it in harm's way. He doesn't turn the ball over very often. I thought, you could parse out whether he should have thrown that pass to Brian Robinson that was picked off. The last interception was a chuck, and I don't think anything of it. But, go back to everything we're talking about here. The pressure packages have become a trend. Terry McLaurin's being removed in certain ways. He is going to also have to develop and see the game a little bit differently because these teams are doing the same things over and over and they're having success. So I'm not criticizing him. I'm actually saying he's still way ahead of the curve and he's having an outstanding first season. But some of it is, and this is on the coaches, I think, to help him see what the defenses are looking at that are taking away from him, because one of the things that we're talking about here is those secondary targets that made all those big plays early in the season, they're not even getting targeted at all.
And I think that's where I go back to the pressure packages, right? Is he getting the time to do that? Is that internal clock? Because there were a couple times against Pittsburgh where I felt like, again, the miss to Zacchaeus, which was a big one. The play is there. And he just nudged, he got nudged a little bit to his left. He had to slide a little bit to his left. And that took him offline on the throw. And I felt like, was that rushed a little bit because that pressure is coming in a little bit. I think the other thing with him, Bram, again, the ability to use your legs will make a big difference. If he can get back to,
and he looked a lot healthier last week too.
Yeah, and I also think it was like I said, it was a better defense to run against and from design runs because they give that up a lot. And that was, that's one thing I watched in the prepping for that game is that Dallas would be vulnerable to that, and they were. Like it was Pittsburgh, Philly, not as much. So, but yes, and so I think you're going to have to get him more involved in that way. The other thing I wonder is here's someone, long year, you win the Heisman, you're immediately preparing for the draft. And then after the draft, you immediately dive into your playbook here. And you're coming in at 5:30, 5:45 during the spring, during the summer, during the season. There's a major rookie wall that gets put up, I think, when you go through that. And I wonder how much of that is affecting him at all, and how does it affect him? I don't know, but I do know that's a thing, and he's not the only one, but he's putting in so much extra work.
Yeah, my point is there's room to grow for him, and I think people need to understand that. And so when everyone's blaming everybody else, have you forgotten this is a rookie quarterback who, oh, by the way, I'm seeing teams do the same thing every week. You want to know why? Because they don't have an answer for it. Well, you know what? Some of that is going to be on him to figure out that answer too.
And there are
he's the one with the ball in his hands. You could yell at Cliff all you want.
Right. And there are times where there are a couple throws where it looks like a predetermined decision, and you get the ball to Zach Ertz in 3 yards. But on the play, on the same side, if you read it to the hitch, which is Noah Brown, you get 7 yards. Now you're in possibly a first down. So now, you're in second and short versus third and short versus 3rd and 7. Makes a big difference, right? And so there are little things like that, which is experience. And then
that's what I'm talking about, experience.
Yeah.
I'm not complaining about him. I think he's having just an outrageously great rookie season. But he is a rookie, and there are some moments and elements of all of this where everyone's pointing at everything else but him. And you know what? Guess what? He needs to grow too.
Oh yeah. There's no doubt. I think the hard part is that he started off so strong that you forget some of that. I think the same is true of the offense, that you're going to have, look at C.J. Stroud, had an unbelievable year last year.
It's very up and down this year with him.
Very up and down. Bo Nix started really slow. Now he's playing well. You look at, Caleb Williams, up and down. Drake May, up and down. So, it's hard to be a rookie in this league, especially when...
It's hard to be a veteran in this league.
Yeah,
there will be 3-week periods where Josh Allen looks and people go, he turns the ball over too much and all these things.
Correct, exactly. And so I think the other thing, too, is it also, you look at, again, Brian Robinson in and out, Austin Eckler now likely going to be out again, right? Then
beat up O-line.
Beat up O-line, and then who is the other playmaker on this offense? They don't have, I like Noah Brown as a third receiver.
So do I.
But they don't have that other guy that can just boom, give it to him and let him go. Because where they're at, if they're not hitting those big plays, they don't have enough playmakers to live in a world where they have to drive. It's really hard.
All right, let me talk about the defense here for a minute. So, again, I want to give credit to Dallas, who I thought were very creative on first down. They got away from tendencies. They got themselves into nice, manageable situations. Like Washington, they don't have a lot of playmakers outside of CeeDee Lamb, so it's hard for them to score. And that showed up. They had a hard time scoring, and they made a couple of mistakes that really hurt them. The field goals were bad. The snap over Rush's head blew up a drive on them. But I think the thing that got me watching them was you get these, you just know, that's not a very good run team. Their offensive line is beat up. They're missing their interior guards. They already weren't a good run team. Their running back isn't an explosive player. And yet what I saw is what I've seen a few weeks in a row, where they set up these kind of what looks like outside runs, cut back, and it's working to the tune of 5, 6, 7 yards a carry. And guess what? That doesn't show up as you're getting gutted or you're being beaten here, but I'm watching this going, we have a deficiency. And it's obvious, and they took advantage of it to the best that they could.
For sure, and it's funny because when I was rewatching it, Bram, part of me was they didn't have that's not an explosive run team. They have the fewest runs of 15-plus yards in the league. So you weren't seeing that, but you saw the consistency of the 3, 5, 6, 7 yards and always put them in third and short. And there were definitely times where they caught them on hey, it's a third down, they run a draw. And you can see the defense is dropping off. The defense playing a lot of too high safeties, so you're kind of basically, you go ahead and run the ball. But I'm also seeing inconsistent play by the defense, by the interior of the D-line. I think sometimes there are guys who, when you talk, I talk to people who watch this defense, who know defense much better than I. We talk about sometimes guys getting the ball, whether it's a linebacker or whomever, they're sometimes going around the play to try and get it,
this is why these cutback lanes are evident.
Cutback lanes, or even on toss sweeps. I've seen it on that. Someone cuts inside, and okay, if you're staying out, is that a 9-10 yard gain, or is it a 3 or 4 yard gain? So you see that a lot, and the gaps become widened when you do that. And I think, I know people were disappointed with how John Allen was playing, but he's still a good defensive tackle in this league. And
they didn't have someone to replace him.
No, and Johnny Newton will make some plays, and then he'll get moved out by a double team or single team, and then it's inconsistent because he's
also a rookie who didn't practice in camp.
Correct, very much, and so that there's an impact. So it's been a season-long problem. And it's not. I don't think it's going to get better. You're just going to have to survive it. If you can start creating turnovers, then you're okay. But that was the problem the other day, is that Cooper Rush was never really uncomfortable in the pocket.
All right, I'll let you go on this. Do you think they have to win this game to make the playoffs? Because I'll be honest, I do.
Well, I think from a mathematical standpoint, no. From a psychology standpoint,
yes.
You can't lose four in a row with two of them at home to teams with bad records. Now, Tennessee, you can look at their defense is playing better than what their record is, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But they're 3-8?
Right.
For a reason.
A lot of mistakes. Honestly, Dallas's record is that way. I think they have a better roster. They've had a lot of injuries, but similarly over the last few weeks, it's been these kind of comical turnovers that flipped games on them.
And that's Tennessee.
Yeah, that's Tennessee.
But it's special teams and it's offense. So, I don't think it's going to be an easy game because of that, but you have to win. If you let me say this, if you are a legit playoff team, you win this game. It's at home. You have 3 in a row, and all we've heard is how tight they are, the brotherhood and all that. Well, now you've got to see it. And
show it.
It's got to show up. So mathematically they're still alive, but I think you feel a lot different if you're going into the bye with a 4-game losing streak than you would otherwise.
All right. As always, thanks. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks, Bram. You too, and everybody else out there. Happy Thanksgiving.
Up next, me and Callow are going to go through the Week 13 slate. This is the Bram Whiteside Show on ESPN 630, the Sports Capital.
Want to shop Walmart Black Friday deals first? Walmart Plus members get early access to our hottest deals. Join now and get 50% off a 1-year annual membership. Shop Black Friday deals first with Walmart Plus. See terms at walmartplus.com.
Grab an ice-cold can of Celsius Sparkling Kiwi Guava and experience a delicious taste of essential energy. Celsius powers active lives every day with refreshing, fruit-forward flavors and proven ingredients. Find Celsius Essential Energy drinks at a retailer near you or visit Celsius.com to learn more.
Looking for a pickup truck to get just about anything done? Look no further. The Chevy Silverado EV isn't just the most powerful Silverado ever, with next-level towing capability and technology. It also offers game-changing versatility with the available multi-flex midgate and tailgate, which means Silverado EV helps you carry large, bulky, and oddly shaped items up to nearly 11 feet in length. Chevrolet. Together, let's drive. Visit Chevrolet.com to learn more.
All right, here with Monsieur Callow as we get set for week 13, the last before the bye. I need it, my friend. I need it. So I am excited to get through this weekend and take a break. I'm actually going to go away next weekend, and my wife and I are going to go to Charleston, South Carolina. So just so you know, I will be doing shows on Monday and Tuesday, but not Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, as we take a much-needed rest for a few days.
I will not be taking advantage of the bye week, but I will be going away the following week because Yield Capital is going like a 4-day break. So I'll be taking advantage of that one.
All right.
They don't play the following Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So going to use that as my holiday break to go see my family, also in South Carolina and Myrtle Beach, where my parents live now, and my grandfather. So
very nice.
I'll be taking
very nice. Much needed December vacations. Can't wait.
Correct.
Hopefully next year, I'm going to petition early. Please, 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 no more December bye weeks. Please, 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 NFL, please stop doing this to us. But I have a funny feeling we're going to Europe next year, I think. And if that happens, it'll happen early, and the bye week will happen early off of it. So that's my gut guess that because we haven't gone there in 10 years. So I assume that we're going to go there next year, and I'll be excited to do that. Hopefully it's with Seravosh in Germany. It'll be fun.
Isn't next year's the extra home game for us, correct? Isn't that the extra home game?
No, that's this year. We have 9 home games.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So, all right. So they would have to figure that one out. No, I have a feeling there's going to be a lot more prime time and at least one overseas game, with JD5 at the helm. So. Oh
yeah, we've been joking around in these parts. 5 night games next year. 5 night games. That's like it's happening. All right, let's get into it. Black Friday today. Raiders Chiefs. Antonio Pierce dubs it best team in football versus worst team in football. So I'm going to pick the Chiefs. Thank you, Antonio Pierce. They are 13-point favorites, which under normal circumstances, I would be like, whatever, sounds about right. The Raiders stink this year. But the Chiefs aren't killing anybody. So I don't know about that, nor do I like weighing in on the spread. I just wanted to mention that's a big spread for a team that isn't beating anybody like that. And last year, you'll remember the Raiders beat Kansas City. It was around this time of year last year where they beat them. But I mean, obviously, I think the Chiefs are going to win. It's just by how much. That's all.
Yeah, this is one where my red flags are going off on the spread. Like 13 points is a lot in a rivalry game on a short week, a Friday afternoon. My radar's going off on that spread. The Chiefs should win this game. But also, I wouldn't put it past Antonio Pierce to kind of galvanize the troops a little bit to make it close. Remember what happened on Christmas Day last year? They straight up beat the Chiefs at Arrowhead. Like, I get it.
That's like who got Pierce the job that game.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I will say this, though. They weren't on their third-string quarterback, so I don't even know who's starting for them today. So there's a lot going against them. Pencil me down for a Chiefs win, but it's a little bit closer than that spread is leading on.
Okay. On Sunday, we get Chargers-Falcons and the Chargers are favorites at the Falcons. I'm going to listen to Vegas on this because I don't really have a definitive side. The Chargers the other night played the Ravens. They were down 14 in the fourth quarter. So sounds about right. They are pretty good under Harbaugh. They're not good enough to be a real contender. They might make the playoffs anyway. But that spread screams to me, Vegas thinks the Falcons are a fraud. So they're going like short week across the country to a team that is probably going to make the playoffs as a division winner, and they're saying they're a home dog. Give me the Chargers. Chargers win. I don't know how they win.
Yeah, this is one that you look at it and you're like thinking it's a little bit shady, but it's also you don't know what version of the Falcons are going to get. I think this is Vegas hedging. The Chargers are a little bit more of a consistent team than Atlanta.
Definitely.
And so I think this is where Vegas is just going, we're going to go with what we know. We know Harbaugh is going to have those guys ready to play. We know it's a West Coast to East Coast trip, but you don't know what version of the Falcons you're going to get. You also don't know which version of Kirk you're going to get either. So you got to play the game kind of two different ways. It's two coin flips instead of one, honestly.
I got to be honest. Like, there's an underrated part to this sport of just consistency. If you are a consistent team, you will win a lot. And when you become a team with consistent performances, you will win a lot. Atlanta is definitively not that. Harbaugh has been this wherever he's been. And then when he gets really good players and really good teams, well, that's when he starts putting the foot on people, on everybody. So, like, this spread just reads, Harbaugh has already whipped into shape the program with the Chargers. I think we can all recognize they're not good enough to go far, but it's another sign of, like, we trust them. That's all it is. And that's what Quinn is trying to do here, consistency. Like, he talks about it in this, you're going to like the way we play. He always talks about that. What he's talking about is a consistent style of play that you're going to see. Harbaugh is more, to me, P's and Q's. This is what everybody does. Do your job. And I don't know how he does it because he seems like a classic weirdo to me, but it works. And everywhere he goes, the teams are tough outs. And Atlanta is window dressing. So I also like the Chargers here.
I'd also just go Chargers here. He knows how to motivate those guys too. Like he can squeeze every little bit out of them. Whereas I just think in the NFL, that's not just a team to team problem. That's like a league problem. You just don't get the same kind of passion that we used to get in this league. There are certain guys that have it, but I think this is also Vegas going, we know that guy's going to have those guys ready to play and motivated. Or with Atlanta, I don't know what we're going to get.
Pittsburgh tries to bounce back after losing to Cleveland by playing Cincinnati. It's at Cincinnati. Again, here's another one. They're 4-7, but they're favored. So again, if you're someone who just likes to read the tea leaves like me, that stinks. Like I would, on its face, presume Pittsburgh's going to win somehow, some way, even despite the fact that Burrow on a 4-7 team might have the best quarterback stats of anybody this year. And if his team had a better record, he'd be up for MVP this year. But because they don't, he won't. And Chase is having a ridiculous season too. I like Pittsburgh, but not by a lot. And I do think they're going to have to score 24 plus to actually win this one. But I do like Pittsburgh to bounce back and find a way to win.
I'm kind of with you on this game as you were with the last game. I'm just going to take Vegas here, take Cincinnati. Burrow, everybody's talking about how, if they were winning, he'd be an MVP candidate because he's still lighting it up. Give me Cincinnati to just eke one out here. They're 4-7, not 2-7. They've been able to take down some teams along the way. Let me just chalk this one up to Vegas. I won't bite on the Steelers here. I'll take Cincinnati.
We got Arizona, Minnesota. And for my purposes here, we're now at the point of the season where I go, who do I need to lose? And I'm shocked Minnesota's 9-2, but they are. So they, to me, are a lost cause. Like, they're going to make the playoffs. So forget them. So I want them to beat Arizona because Arizona's got 6 wins, and I'd prefer them to lose. And Washington already beat them. So if they end up in a tiebreaker with them and they're not their division winner, then that's good for us. So go Vikes, go. Skull. And I do love that Dime showed up there. Great spot for him for the rest of the season. Great spot.
I called that. I just want to say I called that from the get-go that he was definitely going to go to one of the Wonderkins, and he goes with KOC. And by the way, he'll have a chance there if Darnold ends up walking for a boatload of money or something. So I think I really like that for him. I also like it for the Vikings, too. You could throw him out there on a couple of running plays. It wouldn't surprise me if you get a package going for him.
Well, he's only on the practice squad, so I don't think he's playing this week.
No, I know, but down the stretch. Is
down the stretch. Yeah.
But no, I'm with you. Skol, go Vikings. It's in Minnesota, and we've been talking about coin flip teams. Arizona is one of them too. Arizona, I don't know what I'm getting week to week. I don't know what version of Kyler I'm getting. I don't know what version of Harrison Jr. I'm getting. Coin flip game. Give me Minnesota, and I'll keep saying what I say about Minnesota. Their defense is consistent. They let it up a little bit last week against the Bears, but I think they'll be good enough to beat the Cardinals this week.
Indy Pats is the red zone special of the week. Enjoy, everybody. Don't care. Seattle against the Jets. Again, here's another one. I don't expect the Jets to show up. I don't expect them to win. I would love them to, though, because if they do, because when the schedule came out, it's like, oh, Seattle's going to go across the country and play the Jets, and they'll be in the playoff hunt. Well, they're not. And so now I just need them to show up and try, which I do not trust that they will do. So I expect Seattle to win. But again, we are at the point of the season where them losing is good for us. So come on, Aaron, one time. Get on the ayahuasca, shroom it out, do what you got to do to hook us up, have the game of your life, beat Seattle, and hook a brother up over here.
Same thing. Seattle, I don't know what version I'm getting of them week to week. And remember, they went from West Coast to East Coast and beat the Falcons in Atlanta, early on in the season here. I'm with you. It'd be nice if the Jets could be competitive, but actually the worst part about the Jets is their defense hasn't been good since Saleh got fired. Give me the Seahawks to be barely better here. Look at Rodgers' numbers. He's as bad as Wilson was last year. Give me Seattle here, but it's a crapshoot. I'm not touching this one with actual money or anything.
Houston, Jacksonville, full fraud versus kind of a fraud. Certainly not what they said they were going to be. I bet this game is close. Houston already just lost to Tennessee, which shook me a little bit about that matchup this weekend. And Jacksonville has actually been hanging around the last few weeks. They're not getting run off the field. So division game, Houston's going to be in full panic mode if they lose this one back-to-back Tennessee and Jacksonville. So why not? Let's do it. Give me the Jaguars to knock off Houston at home.
This is one of those ones where had the Texans beaten Tennessee last week, I would actually say they're ripe for an upset, like where they lose one of these. But because they lost, it means that their practice was probably a little bit tighter this week, a little bit better. We're not going to let them jump on them by surprise. I think Houston wins. These are all close, though. Houston isn't blowing anyone out here. Give me Houston in a 23-20 type win, maybe even lower scoring than that, 20 to 17. That's what I'm going with.
They were the outside of the Jets, but I think the Jets, for good reason, were hyped. This team was massively overhyped this year. Massively overhyped.
Yep.
All right. Rams, New Orleans. So this is a win-win either way. We want both of them to lose. So because we just don't want really either one of them in the conversation. I think I would prefer the Rams to lose over New Orleans if given the choice here. And frankly, they're more up and down than I thought they were going to be. And New Orleans, since firing the coach, has gotten their offense back. So give me the Saints. This is a short week for the Rams. They got to go across the country. That's a tough place to play. Carr v. Stafford's probably a lot of points. I bet it's a lot of points this weekend. Give me the Saints to win a modest shootout.
Give me the Saints here, too, because I want them to knock the Rams off, and then the Commanders have the chance to knock the Saints off themselves later on. That's how I kind of see this one. Let them knock the Rams off, get them out of the race, and then the Commanders can handle business when they go down to New Orleans after the bye week.
Buccaneers versus the Pantheros. All right. I'm very happy for Bryce Young. He looks like a quarterback now. So I never want to see anybody fail in the way that he was failing. And remember, it was earlier this year that they had to bench him because it was worse than the year before. So I'm happy for him. He looks like a legitimate quarterback now, or at least to whatever degree that means. Buccaneers are a better team. If the Buccaneers are serious, they win. If the Buccaneers aren't serious, they find a way to lose this game. I assume that they are serious, and this program's in the playoffs a lot. So I assume that they're going to win. Probably a little tighter than it would have felt a few weeks ago, but I think they'll win. Give me them by 10, 27-17, something like that.
I'll take the Bucs here. I think it's a little bit tighter. Give me 23-20 type game. I mean, Panthers hung with the Chiefs the other night, so I'll give them a close game here. 23-20, but Buccaneers win. Panthers look good, though.
Philadelphia and Baltimore. Well. I will stick with what I said a week ago. I think both of these teams should run the ball on every single play of the game, and let's see who ends up on top. Because I bet you the score, even if they did that, I bet the score would still be 42-41. They have two unstoppable offenses with two unstoppable running backs. This game may go a long way towards separating who's a true MVP candidate. That's for sure. Saquon Barkley and the Eagles win, and Saquon has a really good game. He's going to become the front runner for bare minimum offensive player of the year and maybe MVP. Derrick Henry or Lamar Jackson have crazy games, and Baltimore wins. Same. They'll be kind of back in that conversation as well. This is a showcase game. This easily could be the Super Bowl. Very, very easily could be the Super Bowl this year. Philadelphia, I saw a clip of Sirianni in the locker room saying you haven't won nothing yet. These wins are cute. So he's starting to feel himself a little bit like he's allowed to talk again. So that's good for him. They're rolling people. And until proven otherwise, I got a hard time seeing anybody beat them right now, including the Ravens. So give me Philadelphia here on the road in what's probably close, but I bet they would. Let's see if Baltimore can stop that run game because nobody can. So give me Philadelphia here.
No, I'm also taking Philly here. Saquon's also hitting the hot part of the season, right? He broke that record last week for most yards in a game. Both these teams also traveling from the West Coast. It's not like this was an easy week for Baltimore either. They had to travel too from the West Coast and on a short week too, right? So it's not like this has been an easy week for them, even though they're at home here. I also am going to believe when I see it with Baltimore. Baltimore's lost to some of these good teams throughout the season. So I'll take the Eagles here. I'm with you. I think they're just kind of feeling themselves a little bit here. When I look at this one, though, is I believe in the Eagles' defense to hold on more than the Ravens' defense to hold on for them.
100%.
The Eagles' defense can put it together for a little bit, whereas at the Ravens one, it's been shaky all season. This is an offense that's ripe to kind of tear them apart a little bit. I think this is pretty close, but I have the faith in the Eagles here that they're going to win this one.
Earlier when the Commanders played the Ravens, I went, their defense will turn around. They'll be fine. It hasn't.
Yeah.
It just hasn't.
Right.
So I don't think they have a Super Bowl caliber defense now. I now don't believe that. I don't know whether the Eagles do or don't, but I know that it's more positioned to have it happen. And Barkley is just so dynamically killing people that they don't need their defense to be great to win. And Jalen Carter has emerged as a massive star. He just needs to blow up a few plays and a couple of drives, and it'll be the difference. So I think Philadelphia wins. All right, the last one's Sunday night, and the 49ers are just too marginalized, I think, to win to go actually to Buffalo. So they had to go to Green Bay and then to Buffalo. And again, us scoreboard watchers, it would be great if Buffalo would win because it would just be another step towards that team's not even going to make the playoffs, which is, trust me, the entire NFC wants that to happen this year. So I think Buffalo's just healthier. I just think they're better than them right now, and I just don't expect San Francisco to overcome going to Green Bay, getting run off the field, going home, flying to Buffalo. Give me the Bills. Bills win, and I bet, like Green Bay, going away, actually. I think they win relatively big.
Agree here. I think the wheels have just fallen off enough for the 49ers here that I just don't see it happening. And the Bills are rolling too. The Bills are quietly rolling as well. And it's in Buffalo. At the end of the day, West Coast team traveling all the way to there. Good luck with that. You're already, the deck is stacked against you. I got Buffalo in this one too.
So next week I have to do a program with Adam Peters again. What do you think about asking him, what do you think of the 49ers and the wheels coming off?
I mean,
it falls into the category of questions I cannot ask him and won't ask him, but man, do I want to.
And what's funny too is, remember, we kind of red flagged it before the season started. We started hearing those rumors about the ownership saying they spent too much money and they didn't like what was happening. And now at least they were winning off of this year. Are they going to get squirrely? I don't know. Owners do weird things, but I know if they're worrying about money and they're not winning now, they could get a little squirrely over there.
The window is closing, as they would say. All right, be right back. Bram watch the show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital.
At Sierra, discover joyous deals on great gifts for everyone on your list. Like cozy slippers, ski gear, fishing poles, bikes, large kayaks, even larger canoes. Whew, which might lead to another discovery. Wrapping gifts is the only sport you need to stay fit this season. 'Tis the season to discover great gifts at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
Hey, it's Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast here to tell you about Michelob Ultra Courtside. It's getting fans closer to the NBA with a chance to win prizes like courtside seats, a trip to All-Star Weekend, and much more. Check it out at MichelobUltra.com/courtside. Michelob Ultra Superior Access, Courtside 24-25 sweepstakes, no purchase necessary. Open to U.S. residents 21 and up. Begins on October 1st, 2024. Ends July 1st, 2025. Multiple entry periods. Visit MichelobUltra.com/courtside for free entry deadlines, and official rules. Message and data rates may apply. Void where prohibited.
Blinds.com's Black Friday sales event is happening now with our best deals of the season. Let our design experts help you make the perfect selection for your home on your schedule. We can send free samples right to you and handle everything from measure to install. With over 25 million windows covered, Blinds.com is the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings. Save up to 50% site-wide, plus doorbusters, and a free professional measure at the Blinds.com Black Friday sales event now. Rules and restrictions may apply.
I remember early in this season when, specifically after Washington beat Cincinnati on the Monday night game, and I remember talking to Dan Quinn in the locker room after that game, and I remember asking him about how he thought the team would respond to a lot of attention that's going to be brought their way after this. It'll be the first time that they won a big game. And the first thing out of his mouth was, don't get caught up on the roller coaster. Don't go up and down with it. Try your best not to get caught up in any of that stuff. And as the thing started to progress, and after the Hail Mary, and then it's 7-2, it was hard not to get caught up in it. And I heard a bite from Benjamin St. Juste earlier this week where he was essentially kind of saying, like, we need to get back to not paying attention to all the things that were being said on the outside and all the hype and praise that was coming to us from the outside. And then comes a 3-game losing streak. And you can kind of write off Pittsburgh because, boy, did they need a bye, and Pittsburgh was streaking and playing really well. And look, it was a 1-point game. And you could write off Philadelphia because it's the quick turnaround and you have to go there. And they're playing better, as good as anybody in the NFL right now. And this team needed a bye week really, really, really badly. You can't write off the Dallas one. Like, that's the one where you get to ask the questions, going back to what I was talking about earlier, the roller coaster, because we're in the downturn part of it. And this Sunday does feel like a gut check test of, where are you guys? Are you guys here for the long haul? Are you guys going to make the playoffs? Are you guys going to try to take a late run at the division if you get a little bit of help from, say, Baltimore this weekend with Philadelphia, because you are going to get them again in a few weeks? But are you guys up to that challenge? Or did you have a really great start? Did teams adjust to you? Did you get tired, injured, whatever it may be? And did you lose some of the focus? And so I want you to hear from Bobby Wagner here, who I thought kind of summed up in a lot of ways, like kind of where the team is when he spoke to them earlier this week.
I mean, I think I've told you guys before, like, I think one of the biggest things about leadership or people that's been in the game for a long time is their ability to share their scars. And so sometimes sharing your scars provides, like, I wouldn't say hope, but just an idea of what can happen if you figure out and fix the things you need to fix. And so, you know, like I said, on Sunday we got a great team. We just got to go out there and execute and prove that. We don't have to worry about what people are saying outside or what other people are thinking. As long as the guys in here are thinking the right things, we'll be fine.
That's Bobby Wagner, who spoke to the team earlier this week. We'll find out later today, will Marshawn Lattimore make his debut against Tennessee? We'll see. If not, then it seems like it's at least trending towards after the bye week. This is not a game where, obviously, Washington's out of nothing if they lose here. but it feels like if they're serious about taking a run to the playoffs, that this is kind of a must-win. Will Levis had his best game as a starter a week ago in a win over Houston. First career game, 275-plus yards passing and 2 touchdowns. He's got a 109 passer rating over the last 3 games since he's returned as a starter. Still, this is a team that has turned the ball over 21 times this year. It's the second most in the NFL. They're on the road. They're coming off a big win. They haven't won back-to-back games in a very long time. Washington needs to win a home game against a 3-8 team if they're going to seriously take a run at the playoffs. And that's what I hope to see on Sunday. And we'll have a full review of it when we get around to Monday. So I'll talk to you then. Have a great weekend and happy belated Thanksgiving. Bram Watch the Show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital.